Hello folks, Ed Haynes here to talk about the current competitors training block. A little precursor, we're currently in week 2 of an 8-week training cycle. So that 8 weeks is going to be split into 2 4-week cycles. A bit of an introduction. Firstly, it's great to see the competitors group growing both locally and overseas. This is by far the biggest competitors group we've ever had. And with that, by far the highest standard of athletic ability within the sport of CrossFit we've ever had as well. It's great to see the averages for both males and females continually rising. And it's really interesting looking back at the program last year relative to this year in terms of what our competitors are able to do. So hats off to all you guys. Thank you so much for your dedication and commitment. Keep it going. You'll notice, firstly, we've changed the name of our CrossFit program to our Strength and Conditioning program, or shortened or abbreviated to S&C. The reason for that is just to really help define our training groups, because we do know that amongst our fitness performance competitors, the focus isn't necessarily the sport of CrossFit for all 3 groups. For the competitors group and performance group, it certainly is. So nothing changes with regards to your training stimulus. You might just see a bit of a difference with regards to branding. Why do we do these Facebook Live videos? We think it's very important to educate you guys, especially the competitors who generally are buying into the systems and processes a little bit more than the other groups. So the idea is to teach you guys the what and the why behind what you're doing it, and hopefully in exchange you guys are going to get more out of the training program when you have more of a direction with your training. We're going to continue to do these videos every 8 to 12 weeks, really depending on the training block. As the training blocks start to vary a little bit more, perhaps as we get closer to the season, we'll do these a little bit more regularly. You'll also notice it's the first time we've gone back to YouTube videos. Reason for that, for some reason, not everyone's on Facebook. So a lot of people are missing out on these videos. So by putting it on YouTube, we can circulate it and make sure that everyone gets a chance to watch the videos. You will have an opportunity to send your questions in ahead of time next time. So we'll kind of give you guys a 1 to 2 week heads up. And in these videos, I'll make sure I address your questions at the end of each video. So a little reminder, the goals of the competitors program, we're always going to address these for newcomers who are coming in, is to prep you guys for the 2019 CrossFit Open. For those who are potentially going further than that, potentially regionals or even competitions like Asia Championships or local competitions around the world. The goal of this program is to prep you guys for that as well, but particularly looking at our competitive season to be between February to June time. We're always going to take a focus on the long term, so we always err on the side of caution or being a bit more conservative with our training volume and intensity. You will notice that we give a lot of training ranges or rep ranges or volume and intensity ranges. That's just really to cater to the larger group, especially as it grows. So it really comes down to you guys, who are technically more aware than any of the other groups, to make sure you're selecting the correct loads, exercises and intensities relative to you. How the program works, we typically move between harder days and easier days. It doesn't necessarily mean easier in terms of a perceived exertion, but easier in terms of the level of intensity that we're dosing on your muscular system and your nervous system. So typically we'll go Monday as a hard day, Tuesday slightly down paced, Wednesday hard day again, Friday hard day, and then Saturday easier day. Remember, your scheduled rest days, guys, are Thursdays and Sundays. If you can't stick to the training schedule for whatever reason, and a lot of people cannot, you're more than welcome to chop and change the training plan. Just bear in mind that the program is written to factor in that Thursday and Sunday rest days. So if you start to change up the order, you may find that you're doing similar-ish movements on back-to-back days. So just bear that in mind. Okay, there's the next part of this video. We're going to talk about your current training split and what we're going to be focusing on each day, just to make sure you guys can really apply yourselves on those training days. So Mondays at the moment, we are addressing jerk technique and consistency. We've done a lot of work with the push press and push jerk over the past few months. Hopefully that's helped develop some prerequisite strength and mobility to allow us to hit some heavier split jerks, which we're already seeing in the program, which is good. Our B work on Mondays, we're addressing some clean, more strength endurance now. We've done some heavy work, hit some great PRs on some of our tests in the last couple of weeks. So now it's just accumulating volume at sub-maximal loads. We're going to be finishing your Monday sessions with some sport-specific, non-fatigue-based work. So you might see things like EMOMs or rounds for quality or interval-type work where you have a rest at the end. But we're going to keep that nice and varied to make sure we're getting touches on all the facets of the sport. So you may even see some kind of low to moderate volume gymnastics on those Mondays. Your accessory work on a Monday, guys, remember, which I expect all of you to be doing in the competitors program at some point in the day. You're going to be doing some lower body knee flexion accessory work that will help things like pistols and just develop some important unilateral strength, as well as some hinge accessory work. Your Tuesdays, we are going back to muscle ups. You guys are doing muscle up complexes. Idea of complexes are to basically give us a bit more variance with the movement and a chance to address technique. We know that pretty much everyone in our competitors group can complete strict muscle ups now, so we don't necessarily need to dedicate a huge amount of time this season on developing more strict muscle up capacity, but you'll see more complex where we're just basically accumulating time under tension on the rings. We're reintroducing kipping handstand push-ups and kipping chest to bars. We haven't addressed that this season. We've just been building a lot of kind of prerequisite strength and strength endurance. If you do not have butterflies, now is a great time to learn it. If you can unlock and dial in that skill now at this point in the season, that's going to give you a good 6 to 8 months to really get consistent and build some volume with it. Ways to learn: always do your own research, search on YouTube, follow people on social media channels who are putting out good content, or just simply copy and replicate. Otherwise, you can always reach out to one of the coaching team. We'd be more than happy to help you one-on-one, or if there's enough demand in a small group. But of course, those at Coastal Fitness Performance Training, we do have functional gymnastics starting, which has started. And as we get closer to the season, functional gymnastics will be addressing high skill movements that you'll see in the sport of CrossFit. We'll be doing some conditioning work on a Tuesday to finish, which will always be more upper body dominant. You'll see a lot of things like rows, push-ups, dumbbell overhead work, swings, that kind of work, which is kind of creating a bit more tissue breakdown in the upper body and developing some local muscle endurance. That is the focus on those Tuesdays. Your accessory work, we'll be doing some upper body functional bodybuilding on Tuesdays, making sure we're hitting movement patterns and planes of movement that we don't normally hit in our training, and some trunk support. Wednesdays is always going to be a snatch day. Right now, we're going to kind of take the foot off the gas a little bit in terms of going really heavy, but we're just going to build consistency at sub-maximal loads. We're going to keep that nice and varied as well. So you've seen a lot of complexes in the last few weeks with things like snatch, balancing, and overhead squats. So we'll continue to keep that variance in there. Then we're going to be doing some deadlift absolute strength, some heavy hinging work. We haven't done a whole amount of that this preseason. We've done a lot more work on our squat absolute strength, so it's time to bring that deadlift up as well. And then, as you've noticed, we're going to do some aerobic threshold intervals on a Wednesday. Now, the reason we're keeping it cyclical, so when we say cyclical, we're basically referring to things like rowing, ski, assault bike, potentially even running or double unders, is just to basically unload the muscular system, the nervous system a little bit. Minimal eccentric loading, which means that we're typically not going to be sore from those types of sessions, because we do have a lot of other harder, high intensity or potentially more taxing conditioning sprinkled throughout the week. So we want to still get those nice aerobic adaptations on a Wednesday without actually damaging us too much more. And doing cyclical work is really important for the sport, because there's always going to be rowing in the open, and in local comps you'll always see running and assault biking. Your Wednesdays, we're going to be accessorizing with some lower body and trunk work. Again, keeping that with a particular focus on unilateral work or single leg work. Thursdays, of course, is your rest day. Fridays, we're doing back squat absolute strength work, and we're actually coupling that with some strict handstand push-up absolute strength work at the moment. We know the keeping strict handstand push-ups is definitely a requisite of the sport. It's tested very often at higher level competitions, and as a group it's still a relative weakness of ours, so we're going to make sure during the off season or the pre-season we get plenty of touches on strict handstand push-ups, and it's nice pairing it with a squat because we get that movement of blood flow from the upper body to lower body, which is very common in the sport. We're going to finish those Fridays with some sport-specific skill touches again, and again this is going to be more in a non-fatigue based setting for now, so you won't be seeing things like hard rounds for time or kind of AMRAP testers. You'll see more EMOM type work with deliberate rest or a deliberate focus in your movement. Again, we're going to keep that nice and varied. We'll be finishing those Friday sessions with some straight arm accessory work, so things like front lever tucks, planche progressions, handstand work, even banded work, all the stuff to help build a really strong, healthy upper body and shoulder girdle. Your Saturdays, we're going to keep a focus on aerobic conditioning. Again, we're basically programming those Saturdays based upon the rest of the stimulus throughout the week to make sure we are not overloading any one movement pattern. So we're keeping it nice and fun, keeping it varied. You may see things like team workouts or partner workouts, or you may even see individual workouts. Who knows? Going to keep you guessing. Those who are following from overseas, I do appreciate that it's a little bit harder to plan appropriately with a partner if you don't have one, but you can always adjust the stimulus of the workout to do it by yourself. Saturdays, when you're doing some handstand walking, is your accessory work. Please make sure you do that. It's a skill that all our competitors should be pursuing to unlock. And once you progress by nailing things like 5 to 10 meter straight line walks, we want to progress to things like zigzags, obstacle walking. We saw at regionals this year. More than likely to see local competitions start putting that into their tests. I mean, who knows? I'm just guessing. And we'll always finish the week with some upper body functional bodybuilding. And that is the training split currently, guys, and we'll be following a very similar stimulus over the next 6 weeks. We will be having a planned deload in week 4, so in 2 weeks from now. And on the Saturday, at the end of week 4, we're actually going to do in-house, we're going to hold an Olympic lifting meet. And those who are following the program overseas, I would like you guys to simulate a meet, or at least we're going to go for what we would call a max out session, which we don't do too often, where we're going to test a 1RM snatch followed by a 1RM clean and jerk. I would love you guys to put that data into WODUP so we can see where we're at. Some concluding comments. Make sure you do your warm-up and movement prep work, guys. Super important. It's only going to allow you guys to have a much more effective session for the day, but it's also going to just prolong your athletic career. In those in class, you know that we're always going to do a structured warm-up together. I think generally our competitors are really good at doing the movement prep work, but that work is always specifically designed or catered to the stimulus for the day. Your rest and catch-up days, I've already talked about that. You're more than welcome to chop and change the schedule as needed. Just bear in mind that the stimulus will feel different if you start putting things like a Wednesday and Friday back to back, because you'll be doing a lot of barbell work. Aches, pains and injuries. We tried really hard to install a culture here at Coastal Fitness Performance Training where training through pain is not cool. So my advice would be, if you are feeling a pain or niggle start occurring, don't just push through it in the hope that it will go, because it probably won't. Firstly, speak to one of the coaches and ask them for a remedy or some ideas on prehab, rehab. Otherwise, just take the load down for that day and make sure you're not pushing through any pain and let the inflammation settle. Doing the competitors accessory work, remember guys, as part of this group, I expect that you do create 15 to 30 minutes a day to get that work done. And on top of that, make sure you are cooling down. For those at Coastal Fitness Performance Training, and I don't really need to remind you guys who are training in-house, remember we do have the Functional Gymnastics Program and Barbell Club. Those two programs are designed as assistants to the S&C program. So they're not programmed in isolation. They do factor in what we're addressing in the week to make sure that we're not hitting the same movement patterns in the same day. As the season progresses, the programming in those two programs will start to replicate the sport more. So you'll do in Barbell Club, for example, more barbell cycling at light to moderate loads. And in functional gymnastics, you'll be doing some higher skill gymnastics like muscle ups, butterfly pull-ups, handstand walking, etc. If you are following the program remotely and you don't have access to a coach, of course, we'd always invite you guys to come here and train with the squad and the team. Otherwise, I highly recommend you guys reach out to some local experts. If it means that you have to skip one of the training days in order to work with a coach, I'm all for that. It's always better to have a set of expert eyes on you. So don't be afraid to feel like you have to be obliged to follow the program and not seek a coach. Always get expert help if you need it. Remember to log absolutely everything and anything, guys. Remember, the program works based on the feedback that comes back from you. So we assess and analyze that data that comes in every single day and every week to make sure that the stimulus we provide is actually suited to the population who follows the program. So don't get lazy on the logging, guys. And if you're doing extra work, which I'm completely cool with, make sure you add that extra work in as well. If I start to see that everyone is doing very similar extra personal added work, it's a sign to me that we probably need to address it. So we can actually add it into the program. Lastly, if you do have friends or family that want to join the program and they're like-minded, committed individuals like yourself, please get them to send me an email to ed@coastalfitnesshk. We would love to have them be a part of the program. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Hope you found this helpful. If you do have any questions, please reach out to myself or any of the coaching team and we'd be more than happy to help. Keep up the good work, team.